How to stop a foreclosure in probate. You're going through probate and the bank sent you a notice of default. What do you do? Well, we're going to get into that right now. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Brendan Mohr, California Realtor and Probate and Trust Specialist.
And I'm Bill Heyman. I'm a licensed California professional fiduciary. I'm a registered and bonded legal document assistant in California and Nevada, as well as a licensed real estate broker in California and a realtor in Nevada.
Now, every day we help people save thousands of dollars with our probate administration service and real estate listing combo. So please reach out to us, comment, send us a question through email, text. Our information is below with our contact information. And please subscribe to our channel. It'll help save this channel as a bookmark for you. We're dropping new information every week. And please like the video as well. Now, Bill, let's get into this topic here. How to stop a foreclosure in probate.
Yeah, well, thanks, Brendan. That's a good topic because, believe it or not, we face that fairly often. We'll have people who will call us that need to go through probate, and they also have just had a foreclosure notice sent to them, and that starts the foreclosure process, and a lot of times they're pretty scared. So the way you stop, one thing you got to remember is a lot of people think that when you're in probate, that automatically stops a foreclosure, and it does not. It does not. The most important thing that you need to do in order to get the foreclosure stopped is you've got to get somebody appointed as the administrator or executor of the estate. Because unless someone has that appointment from the court, they've got no legal authority to communicate with the lender or anybody else to try and stop the foreclosure. Now, normally the court, if it's not a real busy one, will give you a hearing date within 30 to 45 days. If you can get that, that's usually okay as long as you're not too far along in the foreclosure process. If you're further along in the foreclosure process, or you're dealing with a court like Sacramento County, where it takes 5-6 months to get a hearing date, you're going to need to do a special procedure, which is called getting a special administrator appointed through a process that's called ex parte. And don't let the fancy words throw you off. All that is, ex parte just means getting something done without a formal hearing. And filing for an ex parte petition to have a special administrator appointed usually can be done within days. And you get that special administrator appointed, and the only really, the only really authority that the court gives a special administrator in that situation is the ability and the requirement of the lender and the loan servicer to communicate with that special administrator. So that gives the special administrator the opportunity to talk to the lender, communicate with the lender, get all the information, let the lender know what's going on, the fact that you're in probate, the fact that you're going to get the house on the market ASAP, you're going to get a purchase agreement, you're going to get it signed and get it to them. This helps the lender feel assured that things are going to happen, they're going to get their money. So again, the most important thing is get that administrator appointed as soon as possible. Now, there are a few other ways to deal with this situation that are not as ideal. And one of them is the heir or the person who is going to be the administrator, member of the family, could file for bankruptcy. Bankruptcy will put off foreclosure for a time, but that's kind of an extreme thing to go through. And I'm going to tell you right now that if you're thinking of doing that, you should definitely consult with an attorney before you do that, because there can be a lot of repercussions, unexpected outcomes from that you may not be realizing. And so you should definitely talk to an attorney before you take that route. So it's really important that the heirs, until someone gets their appointment, that the heirs try their best to communicate with the lender and let them know what's going on. Now, it's not going to be easy because the lender really doesn't want to communicate with anybody unless they have the authority to talk to them about that loan. And again, until you have that appointment in one way or another from the court, the lender can just blow you off, and oftentimes they do. So again, you got to get that appointment. Very important.
Bill, one thing that I've seen somewhat recently is that the bank wanted the family of the decedent, the person who passed away, to notify them that the person had passed away. And there was a situation where they couldn't move forward with working with the escrow company to tell them how much was owed on the mortgage until the family reported to the bank that the person on the name of the loan had passed away.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's something that they should do as soon as possible, before there's any sort of foreclosure action, before they're even
Yes.
working on maybe even keeping the mortgage up to date?
Yeah, very good point, Brendan. Yeah, that is another good point. You really do. Some people don't want to tell the mortgage company that the person on the loan passed away because they're scared that's going to cause problems. And it's really not. It's actually only going to help you. So you should notify the lender or the loan servicer that the person has passed away. And if you do have a death certificate, you should get a copy of that death certificate to the lender as soon as possible. It really, in the long run, it will only help to do that. It will not hurt. And that is a very good point to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is another way that you can stop the foreclosure process during probate. And it's not necessarily just during probate. If you're not in probate and going through foreclosure, you can stop a foreclosure through this method as well. And obviously, there's a past due amount. I don't know, maybe it's $5,000, $10,000, $30,000. But if you can come up with the past due amount, pay that to the lender, that will bring the loan current, and that will stop a foreclosure in its tracks. Now, we realize that that's not always possible. Not everybody has the money to do that, obviously. There's still other options available, and you could possibly try to get what's called an advance inheritance loan from these companies that specialize in that. They will basically front money to an heir, but I have to caution you, the fees they charge are exorbitant. I would only recommend somebody trying that in an extreme emergency because, and I think you've seen this too, Brendan, I have had clients of mine who, against my better judgment and perhaps theirs, have gone out and taken a $15,000 advance inheritance loan. And it wasn't an emergency. They just took the money and they had to pay back $25,000 or $30,000. The fees are horrendous on those things. So I would only suggest doing that if it's an absolute emergency and there's nothing else available. The last way, which is actually under this same branch of the tree of paying up the mortgage so that it's current, there are private lenders, investors out there that will lend money in certain situations at a much more reasonable rate. Maybe they'll lend it at a 10 or 15 or maybe a 20% premium or something like that. But they're not going to charge you, lend you 15 and expect to be paid back double. They're not easy to find, but they are out there, and that is a potential option. But most of all, and I think you'd agree, Brendan, it is very important that you take action as soon as possible. Don't put off taking action when you've got foreclosure coming and you've got to get a probate done. You've got to get moving, and you got to move fast in order to get it done.
It sounds to me that the best course of action is to not get the home into foreclosure as it is. Sometimes you don't know, you could miss the payment for many, many months and the bank hasn't taken action. But then again, you could miss it for, say, maybe 3 months in a row, 4 months in a row, something to that effect. And then you get a notice of default. Now, the second you get that notice of default, it's not over yet.
No.
You can, if you haven't started that probate process, definitely reach out to someone to start to handle that situation, like our team. This happened very recently to us, where a notice of default was just filed maybe 3 weeks prior to him reaching out to us. And it's something that it can happen where we can slow that process down as long as you're working to maybe get the home on the market very, very, very quickly, and that whole process started. One question that I think that you get this a lot. So say that there could be 2 heirs, there could be 10 heirs, but there's one who's really taking it on themselves to keep the mortgage current. So they're maybe paying $1,500, $2,000 a month. And the question is often, will I get reimbursed? Maybe this is a topic for another video, but I think it does relate.
It does relate. You're right. And the answer to that generally is yes. If someone has been making the mortgage payments on the house after someone passes away, they generally are entitled to be reimbursed for that when the money becomes available during the probate process. So yeah, and you're right. We do get asked that quite a bit. We do.
Oh, well, hey, this has all been great information. I hope it was helpful for everyone else.
Hope so.
But really, what you need is further information on the entire probate real estate process. So linked below or linked right after this video is our video, The Probate Real Estate Timeline. It's probate real estate from start to finish, from filing for the probate to the very end of closing on a probate property and everything in between. So make sure to check that out coming up next.